And we're on the 7th loop. Back in time 7 times. I blinked several times from behind my glasses, then finally jumped up. This wasn't the time for sleep. There was a lot of things I wanted to ask Minakami when I saw him. He would be leaving Mabashido around now, so if I headed to Toyo Cinema, I would definitely run into him. Heading to Toyo Cinema and catch him in there probably be my best bet. As soon as I tried to run, my legs shook and I fell. What's going on? Even my head was spinning. My vision flew when I stared ahead. I leaned against the fence out of reflex, realizing it was unusually difficult to breathe. Now what is happening? Suddenly, a roaring rumble came rushing towards me. I should have been used to these earthquakes by now, but it was my current state. It made me want to run. It was like it was telling me to give up on it all. How much easier would it have been to just give up now? I got off the streetcar and head to the cinema as fast as I could. At least that's what I wanted to do. But I continued to run awkwardly through the rain as I fell and gasped for breath over and over again. When I arrived, it was empty, as expected. Everyone must have been inside already. As soon as I stepped into the lobby, I immediately lost consciousness. My, my blunder led to falling head first. The impact waking me up again. My hands looked as if there were 2 or 3 more of them swirling around. Was it my brain doing it or my eyes? I had no time to find the
お兄
answer.
さんはお客さん？客じゃないなら帰ってくれます？
金の亡者だな、君は。
Still on the ground, I sluggishly pulled out my coin purse. He rushed over just at seeing the shine on the
これ
clasp.
を全部君にやる。だから頼みがある。おかっぱ頭の糸目の男をここへ呼んできてほしい。
I'm excited.
おうよ、任せて。
After counting my money with my grubby hands, he gave me a cheerful smile. What the? He's actually pretty handsome.
なんて言ったら伝わります？
メガネの男が倒れていると。
We beat his chest, then went inside. I finally felt some relief. But I didn't want Minakami to see me like this. I stood up using the wall and walked towards the chair. But once I got to it, I couldn't lift my hip from the wall, so I leaned against it and slid down. When I had my body become so useless, he came back in a hurry.
糸目のお兄さん、俺の呼びかけに全く反応してくれないんすけど。
何？
活動を見るっていうより、なんか原稿を読んでるみたいだった。暗いのにちゃんと読めてるとは思えないな。
このメガネを持ってもう一度言ってくれ。玉森が来ていると。
悪いけど、さすがに2度目はいけないよ。あのお兄さんもお客さんだしさ。
じゃあ私が行く。
I gathered up all my strength and somehow managed to stand up. Not wanting to be so clumsy in front of someone younger than me was my last bit of pride. He stood in my way and held out the palm of his hand for some reason.
30銭だよ。中に入るんなら券を買ってもらわないと。
だからさっきの金で。
さっきのは俺の行動代だろ。券の料金は別途っすよ。
Damn, this kid. He was a true ogre. A gently cheapskate, but he was smaller than me. If I were to put my way though, my way through. I could probably push him down with one hand.
お兄さん、相当貧弱だね。ちゃんと体鍛えてる？
それとこれとは関係ないだろ。私は今
言い訳かよ、貧乏人。
Shit. This bed's going to make me cry.
お客さん連れ出せとかさ。お兄さんちょっと怪しいな。おまわり呼ぼうかな。
クソガキめ。
Even in the normal circumstances, I was easy to tease. And yet, he was harassing me now. At my weakest. Maybe if I cried, even this breath would feel guilty. No. It was all up to me at that moment. Nakami ran out from the theater. He rushed up to me when he saw me crawling on the ground.
どうしてここがなんで
He seemed awfully shaken up. I grabbed Minakami's arm with my own and leaned it against him, somehow managing to stand.
みなかみ、来い。いいから来い。
I was going to gallantly take him by the hand and force him into a taxi with me. We would go as far as my money would allow, at least. That was the plan. I thought I had grabbed his hand and started to walk, but I had fallen to my knees again. My head was pounding, but I hadn't learned my lesson yet, so I stood up and collapsed again. I had no choice but to accept there was something wrong with me. Nakami turned me towards him, then gently rested his hand against my forehead.
熱が出てる。気づかなかったのか？
どうってことない。
そうはいくか。早く病院に。
病院は絶対に嫌だ。
When I tried to shake him off, I lost my strength and ended up leaning against him. This was
そこ
insane.
の君、タクシーを呼んでくれないか？
別料金だけど。
いくらでもやる。
Stop, Minakami. He will rob you blind. I wanted to tell him that, but my eyelids were getting heavier. The ringing in my ear grew distant. My consciousness drifted away to somewhere deeper than the depths of sleep. And we didn't kill our version this time. A speck of light appeared in the empty darkness. A tail of light was drawn out from that speck as it crawled by. It wrapped around another speck of light and became slightly larger. 2 specks, then 3, accumulated more light. Gradually become a vast Milky Way. For some reason, it really made me want to drink coffee. It was a dream. When I slowly opened my eyes, I was greeted by a familiar ceiling. I felt hot, and that's when I noticed I was stuck into a futon up to my chin. I recognized the worn out feel of my old
こ
futon.
こは奥さんの家だ。
私は
ずっと寝ていた。
The shoji was shut tight, so I couldn't hear the sound of the wind and rain. All the clock on the wall could tell me was that it was night. I tried to get up, but my head was still spinning and foggy.
薬がある。 ほら、
He handed me some powder and water. When I choked on the powder, I had accidentally inhaled. Munakami suddenly rubbed my back.
病院に連れて行こうとも迷ったんだが、どうだ？
平気だ。
I suddenly lost restraint in my fingertips, and the cup fell to the floor. Unconcerned, Munakami immediately cleaned it up with a hand
気づけ
towel.
なくて悪かったな。もう少し横になれ。結構いい薬だが、眠るに越したことは。
効かないのか。なんで私がお前に会いに来たか。
知りたいな。けど今は話せる状況じゃないだろ
He uncrossed his leg and got to his knees.
どこに行くんだ。
う。読み物だ。
ここで読めばよかろ
He played it off with a weary smile. He narrowed his already squinty eyes, then stood up. When he opened the shoji, the sound of the rain beating against the glass doors came in. It made me unbelievably anxious. Still lying down, I grabbed Munakami's leg. I clung to him like he was a lifeline in a violent current that was so ridiculously desperate it looked.
玉森。
う。これ以上私に恥をかかせる気か。
Perhaps I had gotten through to him because Munakami gently closed the shoji. Trying to make it up to me, he knelt next to me and gave me a smile.
病人そっちのけで読書とは正気を疑うぞ。
あははは。ともあれ、いつも通りの玉森だ。
What thought do you think it is that I've had to put up this front? After I drank the small amount of water left in the cup, I handed it back to
今
Munakami.
日会う知人とは一体誰だったんだ。
古い友人だよ。そう言っただろ。
名前は。
わからない。
冗談言うな。名前もわからないのに会う気になるか普通。
Munakami pulled the white-haired boy from inside his bag. That was Kiyosako Yomano's first
この
book.
本に手紙が挟まっていたんだ。それと、今日の活動の件もな。
He used Munakami's carelessness to my advantage and snatched the book away from him.
うるさい。
I pushed Munakami away by the shoulder, then pulled the letter out of the book. The letter was stained with water from the rain. I'll tell you the end of the story was written on it in terrible rent writing.
意味がわからん。
俺もわからない。けど、俺はそれが気になって仕方なかったんだ。
Either way, whoever had written this letter knew all about Munakami's peculiar disposition. My anger flared at how easily he's gone along with it. Munakami, getting excited by something like this made him look ridiculous. I ripped the letter to shreds.
原稿は今どこにある。
原稿？原稿なんて、なんでお前が知って。
Munakami fell silent at my gaze. I was the one who wanted to be left speechless though.
私は時間を何度も繰り返してきた。あさっての未来から来たのだ。信じられないだろ 私だって信じられない。お前が人生の最後に旧作を選ぶなんて。
どうして？
言ってるだろ。私は繰り返してるって。もう数えきれないくらいお前は死んだんだ。
You were
お
murdered.
前が生きるのをやめたんだよ。
The whole time, I only thought about Menakame surviving. Each time, I would search for a reason to stop myself, but each time, I'd only found reasons to keep going.
私はお前がいないとダメなんだ。お前が死んでから何もかもめちゃくちゃなんだ。
I grabbed both his arms.
嘘でも何でもいい。私ももう何も聞かない。だからこの3日間だけ一緒にいてくれ。
玉森。
絶対に何も聞かないから。
Menakame gently brushed my hands away. Those eyes were as kind as ever to me. To me, though, that was more painful than him glaring at me. Right, of course, that was his answer.
どうせ私は気狂いだよ。幻覚と会話する気狂いだ。今だってもう操りきれないのだ。
He became a goldfish. The cat was watching him from the gap in the sliding door, his tail
お前の
swinging.
顔が食べられるぞ。顔を隠さないと。
大丈夫だ。俺の顔だ。
He took my hand and placed it on his cheek. His face was cold, but when he smiled, it was just a little warm. Ah, he's alive. My hallucination eventually faded, and the original scenery returned.
お前は熱を出すといつも俺を金魚と勘違いするな。
本当に金魚になるから。
どこが似てるんだ？
そのどこを見てるかわからぬ目だ。
Menakame's cheeks relaxed again. It really was better when Menakame was smiling. I reached my hand out even further and tucked his hair behind his ear. I could see his face better this way. But Menakame gently removed my hand.
落ち着いたか？
これもまだ幻覚なんじゃないか。
そうかもしれないな。現実だって証明する方法を俺は知らない。でもこれが幻覚だって証明する方法もない。好きな方に生きればいいよ。
私は現実がいい。だからお前も私と一緒に目を覚ませ。
Do you have any idea how much I've suffered? Want to wake up from this nightmare?
私をもう
Me alone anymore. To run away from me. I'll find as long as you're
高
here.
見
I pressed my head against his chest. I could hear the peaceful sound of his beating heart. I noticed it was calm. and seeker of fantasies. I thought your stories were shit. I've had enough. You're the one who's crazy. Tears overflowed. Probably thought I was just some overly dramatic fool. Filled with disgust, I couldn't stop
玉
crying.
森。
言わないでくれ。もう何も。
人の命は短いよ。死ぬも生きるも同じくらい一瞬の出来事で、遠くから見れば光の点滅みたいなものだ。
Couldn't help looking at his face. He was giving me his usual smile.
生と死があるように、物語はすべて二つの側面がある。右手と左手とか、広く言えば善と悪とかな。それは人にも言えるんだ。人が有限の存在なら、その反対に無限の時間を生きる存在もいる。俺の家に伝わる水の妖怪の話だ。
This was the first time Nakami had ever told me a fantasy story like this.
橋姫は雨の降るうちにだけ現れる。橋姫に目をかけられた者はその力を譲られて時間を遡ることができるんだ。
That's right. That right now what's happening to me.
信じてくれるか？
信じられるよ。だってそうやってここにいるんだから。
I had seen things I didn't want to see. I knew things I didn't want to know. I had made an effort to understand them. I had killed someone. I had betrayed others. I had done all that, and now that reality I wanted was right before my eyes.
お前が嘘つきでもいいよ。私はバカだからきっと騙し通せるさ。頼む。私の親友でいてくれ。行かないでくれ。
玉森、ありがとう。
Nakami smiled. He pushed me away. At some point, he had grabbed a pen. He aimed at his own neck and stabbed without hesitation.
みなかみ。
Why? Why Minakami?
みなかみ。
I tried to pull his hand away, but he wouldn't let go. He tore us so his hand were glued to the pen. The blood. His life force wouldn't stop. Once Minakami finally looped over the gushing blood from the pool.
奥さん、誰か助けてくれ。
Why? Why?
なんで。
Why? Why? Why didn't you choose me? I felt this way. I cried so much. So why? You. I stole the notebook from Nakami's bag, then opened the suji and jumped into the garden. I needed to go back in time right away. I jumped into a puddle, but aside from my shoe getting dirt, nothing about me changed. Splashing, I jumped and jumped over and over again. The ground caved in and became even muddier. I couldn't go back. Eventually, I cried myself to exhaustion and crouched down in the puddle. What was different this time? What different from before?
タマさん。
Or then some Nakami's dead body and collapsed.
これは一体。ごめんなさい。私が。 あなた、
みなかみを助けたいんです。でも戻れなくて、どうしたらいいかもうわからないんです。
Raised up to me and forcefully grabbed my arms. Her eyes were terrifying. I shook my head like a child.
私は狂ってない。信じてください。
いいから来い。
The wizard of a man. She dragged me from the garden and forced me into the hallway. She then grabbed me by the shoulders, lifted me up, and shook me hard.
よく聞きなさい。今のあなたに橋姫はついていない。橋姫は過去の主を優先するの。だからもう一人の自分を探して力を取り戻しなさい。
意味が。
Had I gone to another world again? My cheeks was suddenly smacked at full strength.
何も教わっていないのね。
No one explained me how.
奥さんはどうして。
Madame grabbed me by the collar and threw me into the garden like she would the cat.
何者なんですか。
早く行きなさい。
信じます。疑う気持ちなんてありません。だから私はただ理解したいだけなんです。
行きなさい。
教えてください。お願いします。
A month ago, on a day like this, Madame had kicked me out of her home. She had scurried into my room, then thrown my manuscripts and books into the garden.
私もかつて橋姫に目をかけられていました。大泉家が祀っていたのは水道橋の橋姫。
Through the bridge, that's through the bridge.
そして皆さん、いえ、水前寺君の家は16教の橋姫を祀っていました。
何なんですか。
橋姫と誰がいつそのような名を付けたのかは分かりません。ですがそれは各地に存在して、
It rings.
橋姫の力は他人のために利用してはならないのです。橋姫の目があるうちに他者を救えば災いが起きる。
橋姫ってやつは。
With a calm expression, Madame approached Nakami's side and touched his hair.
一度でも橋姫に目をかけられた者は橋姫の推移をその目で見ることができる。あなたたちが初めてこの家に来たとき、私にはあなたの目が青く見えた。それはあなたが橋姫に目をかけられている証拠。でもなぜあなたに橋姫が。
Even I didn't know.
何も知らないということは何も聞かされていないということ。皆さんにも話したくない事情があったのね。
It was as someone I loved. One of innocence realized its feeling for you, taking innocence feelings into consideration.
何なのだこいつ。にゃまさか自分のために私が走ってると思ってるのか。
I'm so full. I showed him Nakami's dead body with an obnoxious laughter. Laughed.
全部私のためだよ。誰のためじゃない。お前を救うつもりなんかこれっぽっちもない。私がお前に。
I ran off, stumbling across the swaying ground. Sometimes I felt like I was getting caught in mud, but as soon as I looked forward, I could make steady progress. Wouldn't rely on anyone anymore. I showed them that I could save him on my own. When I arrived at my battle, I was lying flat on the floor, facing a manuscript. My hand didn't rest. The only time I blinked was the moment he turned the page. He corrected his mistakes sloppily, laying back ink, etc., etc., etc. I lifted my face, annoyed.
なんだ貴様は。なぜ私と同じ顔をしている。私は未来から来たお前だ。80万年後でも1000年後でもない。たった3日後から。ふざけたことを気でも違って。私が愚かであることは認めよう。口で言っても融通の利かないバカだと分かっている。
When he touched me, he vanished with a splash, and a spray of water. The puddle spread at my feet, feeling slightly larger. I threatened toward the bookshelf and leaned against it, relieved. I wasn't in such a hurry. Why was I so relieved? The reality was that I couldn't fix anything. Wasn't this how things were supposed to be? Being this worked up meant I had really lost all sense of morals. It was an easy sacrifice. I ran out of my store again, jumped to the puddle of water. When my eyes suddenly opened, I was in the streetcar. The only passenger. The only one. The streetcar stopped, but no one seems to be getting on. Apparently, it had hit a stray cat. I couldn't believe the streetcar had stopped for a single cat. The residents of Chimabashido sure were good people. Bored, I crossed my arms and scratched my dry elbows. Though, in this situation, I wondered who exactly the dead cat would curse. The first thing that came to mind was this town. The rail extended down the middle of the street, consequently creating a system that wouldn't allow wild animals to cross to the opposite side. But the cat had most likely been born and raised here. So the first thought was dismissed. Second was the streetcar conductor. He was up from keeping a watchful eye, and although he could avoid people, he hadn't been able to save a cat. But once again, even if the cat couldn't understand human language, I figured just ringing the bell would be enough effort on the conductor's part. The clear candidate for revenge was me. Why was the streetcar driving through Shimbosho and Nishikicho Riverside in the first place to carry me from station to station? The streetcar probably would have run over the cat, whether I was here or not, I assumed anyway. But it stopped the streetcar. It got it on. If I hadn't taken the time to pay the fare, it wouldn't have overlapped with the moment the cat crossed the rail. Rest in peace.